There is a specific, vibrating frequency that begins to hum in the air right before the greatest party on Earth finally comes to an end. It is a strange, intoxicating mixture of exhaustion, heavy perfume, and the quiet, creeping terror of the coming dawn. We can sense in our bones that the music has gone on for far too long, yet we are absolutely terrified to stop dancing. Because if we stop moving, even for a single second, we might be forced to hear the deafening silence. History is not a straight line leading us toward a better future. It is a circle that we walk in the dark, doomed to step into the exact same footprints we left centuries ago, completely oblivious to the tracks we are following. Look closely at the world around you right now. The obsession with aesthetics, the curated identities, the desperate performance of happiness. Does it feel new to you? Or does it feel ancient, like a ghost story we have told before? We believe we are the most advanced civilization to ever exist, but we are simply reenacting a play that was written for ghosts in a time of velvet and powder. We are wearing new costumes for a very, very old ceremony. Two separate roads are about to collide in the human psyche. One road is paved with the digital codes of the future. The other road is paved with the powdered bones of the past. And terrifyingly, they look exactly identical. Let us look at the mask. In the old world, the elite covered their faces in toxic lead powder. They poisoned their own blood to look like porcelain dolls, seeking to separate themselves from the raw biological reality of the common man. They sought to erase the reality of decay. To have a natural face was to be a peasant. To be artificially smooth, white, and frozen was to be closer to God. It was a total rejection of the messy human form. Today, the lead powder is digital. We use filters to erase the texture of being human. We carve our bodies with scalpels to mimic the geometry of an algorithm, desperate to look like a drawing rather than a living, breathing person. We have adopted the deadpan stare, a frozen, lobotomized expression that says, "I am too expensive to feel emotions." It is the rigor mortis of the soul, a defense mechanism against a world that watches us constantly. Now, enter the bedroom. In the courts of old kings, privacy was a myth. To dress alone was a waste of social capital. To be seen dressing, to be watched while performing intimacy, was the ultimate form of political power. The lever ceremony turned intimacy into a spectacle. The closer you stood to the king while he put on his shoes, the more you mattered. Your existence was defined entirely by who was watching you perform your morning routine. Get ready with me. We have digitized the royal bedchamber. We invite millions of strangers to watch us perform the ritual of the morning toilet, trading our privacy for the cheap validation of the silent, watching crowd. We are not free. We are courtiers trapped in a digital palace. We compete for the favor of a king we cannot see, do not understand, and who changes the rules of the court on a whim to keep us dancing. The king is the algorithm. And like the monarchs of old, he is capricious. One wrong step, one breach of etiquette, and you are banished into the darkness of irrelevance. We dance for the machine to survive. Social death. In the court, it was exile. In the feed, it is cancellation. The mechanism of control is identical. Perform the correct rituals, say the correct words, or cease to exist in the eyes of the tribe. And when the noise of the court becomes too much, the elite begin to play a very strange, paradoxical game. They pretend to be poor. They cosplay as the very people they have left behind in the mud. The queen built a fake village. She dressed in muslin and pretended to milk cows. She cosplayed the simple life, while the real peasants starved just outside the gates. She sought authenticity in a world she had made artificial. Look at your cottagecore, look at your van life. It is the aesthetic of survival, purchased by those who will never have to survive. It is a costume of simplicity worn by the most complex consumers in history. We dress our children in the sad beige of the orphanage, but the fabric costs a fortune. We are fetishizing a scarcity we have never known, trying to buy back the soul we sold for comfort and convenience. Why do the wealthy play at poverty? Because deep down, they know the system is broken. They are trying to hide in the skins of those they exploit, hoping the coming storm will not recognize them in their disguise. The numbers do not lie. The concentration of wealth today mirrors the exact curve of a society on the brink of collapse. The gap is not a gap anymore. It is a canyon that cannot be bridged, only collapsed. We have seen the "let them eat cake" moments. Celebrities singing "Imagine" from mansions. Billionaires building bunkers while the banks collapse. It is the grotesque detachment of a ruling class that has forgotten the ground actually exists. It is the rentier economy. The elite live off the interest of the past, extracting value without creating it. The cake is stale, it is molding on the plate, but they keep eating because they know nothing else. But the greatest danger is not the hunger of the poor. It is the boredom of the rich. The French called it ennui, an existential emptiness that rots the spirit from the inside out, leaving only a shell. When a society solves survival, it faces the void of purpose. To avoid the void, we invent frivolity. We play games to drown out the silence. We blindfold ourselves with pleasure, so we do not have to see the cliff. Dopamine stacking, doom scrolling, the 15-second dance. These are not joys, they are frantic, desperate attempts to keep the mind from realizing it is trapped in a loop of its own making, spinning forever in the dark. Our humor has become surreal, fragmented, brain rot. It is the laughter of a culture that knows, subconsciously, that the logic of the world has dissolved. We laugh because the alternative is to start screaming. We are swinging back and forth, suspended in the air. We are terrified to touch the ground. This is the definition of decadence, the moment when the fruit is ripest, right before it begins to rot. Do you see the pattern yet? The artificial faces, the digital court, the cosplay of poverty, the existential boredom, the extreme wealth. It is all happening again, just as it did before the fall. We are not moving forward. We have circled back. We are living in a digital mirror of the Ancien Regime. We are reliving the final days of the French monarchy, but this time the palace is online. We are living in the Rococo of Reality, a time of excessive beauty and grotesque inequality, a time where the performance of virtue matters more than virtue itself, and the image matters more than the object. Jung called it enantiodromia, the tendency of things to turn into their opposites. Extreme order becomes chaos. Extreme artifice becomes brutal reality. We are pushed so far into the fake, we are about to snap back into the real. The tension is too high. The persona is too heavy. The mask is eating the face. Something has to break. It is a law of physics, and it is a law of the human soul. We feel the anxiety because our biology knows what comes next. The body remembers what happened the last time the party got this loud. The body remembers the sound of the falling blade before we do. The era of the gilded suspension is over. We are waiting for the drop. We are waiting for the return of the real. The silence we have been running from is finally catching up to us all. We run faster on the hedonic treadmill. We buy more creams. We scroll more feeds. We pretend the summer will last forever. But the seasons do not care about our pretending. Winter always comes for the grasshopper. The leaves are turning brown in the garden of Versailles. The cake is stale, and the algorithm is hungry for something new. The cycle is completing itself right before our eyes, and we are watching it. There is a glitch in the garden, a moment of clarity where the simulation flickers. It happens when the performance stops, when the mask drops and the weight of it is finally felt in the hands. It is found in connection that is not currency, in beauty that is not a filter, in a silence that does not need to be filled with noise. It is the terrifying, beautiful realization of being human. The antidote to the Rococo is not revolution. It is reality. It is the quiet courage to be ordinary in a world that demands you be a god. To exist without an audience is the new rebellion. The party is ending. The influencers are tired. The filters are glitching. The lights are coming on, and the room looks different than it did in the dark. The glamour is fading away. What happens when the lights go out? Who remains when there is no one left to watch? That is the only question that will matter when the music finally stops playing. The glitch in the garden is the self. The self is the anomaly. It is the only thing that is real in a world of painted ghosts, and that is why it feels so out of place. History is a circle, but we do not have to walk it. We can see the pattern, we can recognize the loop, and in seeing it, the spell begins to lose its power. The ennui is not a sickness. It is a warning bell. It is the soul stating that the show is over. It is the instinct to leave the theater before the roof collapses in. The cake was always a lie. The mask was always heavy. And outside the garden walls, the real world is waiting. It is messy, and it is frightening, and it is beautifully alive. The Rococo is ending. The dawn is here. Welcome to the morning after. I claim no prophecy here. I am merely a student attempting to map the strange echoes of history. I acknowledge that I stretched this world somewhat, but I think it's important to reflect on how history mirrors itself. Thank you for lending me your most valuable asset, your time. My mission is simple: to weld the unrelated in hopes of revealing the undeniable. If this specific spark of reality resonated with you, I humbly ask for your help in keeping this library open by subscribing. And please tell me in the comments, what patterns do you see? I would love to learn from your perspective.